You're listening to another episode of the Just Go Bike podcast, powered by RAGBRAI. This is the award-winning podcast where we are all about the culture of cycling, just for the fun of it. Your hosts are Murph from the Murphology podcast and AP from Parrot Talk. With tales from all over the nation, come for the bikes, stay for the fun, and leave with a smile. And now here is Murph.
Hey, that's me.
And AP.
Hey, that's me.
AP.
Hi, Murph.
Hi. Well, the RAGBRAI inspection ride is complete, and we are back to doing more than just biking all day long. Boo.
I know, it's terrible. I'm recording this podcast alone inside a studio instead of with you and friends inside a Winnebago. It's way worse.
True.
Yeah. I have to admit, I haven't been on my bike yet since we returned, although it's only Wednesday. So
yeah, I was going to say it's only been a few days.
Yeah, but I've been itching to get out and ride. Every time I drive past the bike path, I think, ooh.
Yeah. At the time of this recording, I think it's creeping up on 90 degrees here. Actually, 92 it says here in Cedar Rapids where I live, and I'm jumping on my bike in about an hour and a half. So
you're going to smoke everybody on that ride because you just had that whole week of biking. I'm so excited to hear back. You're going to get the Queen of the Mountain for sure.
Another one, you mean?
That's right.
Yeah.
Another QOM.
AP and I tied for Queen of the Mountain of an event, and that makes sense for listeners out there who use Strava. But anyway.
Yeah.
So what an amazing week. What did you think of this year's route?
Well, first of all, it was amazing. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. It was beautiful in different ways throughout the route. So look forward to a lot of really awesome scenery. Make sure that if you pull off to take a photo, you can do so safely, because there were times I found when I wanted to take a picture, but I was in the middle of a pack. Anyway, I digress. The route starts in Orange City, and you just barely miss the Luss Hills.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice where start of the week, it's more flat than maybe you're used to if you've ridden many RAGBRAIs. Mm-hmm. It's a nice, easy start to the week. You don't get even rolling hills until maybe halfway through the week. I'd have to look exactly on the route page, but
yeah.
They don't start up until a little bit later in the week, which is kind of nice if you're a new rider or you're not trained as much as you'd like to be. Although I would still 100% train, because
Saturday.
Well, I haven't even got there yet, but the days where it is flat, you still are going to need to deal with wind. It's possible that you'll have a headwind. There's, like day 2, we go 3 of the 4 directions. So the likelihood that you'll receive a headwind during that time is pretty good.
Yeah.
So I just want to remind people to train. Once we get down into, the last half of the week, we do have some rolling hills, which is really super fun. In fact, I think after Dundee, we called them roller coasters.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But then in Guttenberg, right before you get to Guttenberg, you get a double whammy.
Yeah.
So, but it's gorgeous, gorgeous riding. So yeah, that was my main takeaway of the week, is the beauty of Iowa, even with the crops being still pretty teeny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, I agree. It was beautiful. And like you said, once those crops start growing, like most of it was just dirt and little sprouts when we went through. But just think, in 6-7 weeks, it's going to be over my head, all that corn.
Yeah.
But it just shows like Iowa and all the different greens. And as you get into those rolling hills, I think you and I were riding together, and I said it reminded me of a Grant Wood painting, even though we're in the wrong area from where Grant Wood used to do all his paintings. But I thought it was beautiful. And one thing I really liked was the majority of these tiny, small towns have really robust town signs when you come into their town.
Yeah, yeah.
What comes to mind is Coulter. They had this wrought iron, beautiful sign that sent you to their Freedom
Corridor.
Freedom Corridor, thank you. That's just one, but there were so many just cool signs. So if you're like, I am an Iowan, I still like to take pictures of all the signs of the towns. But if you're like let's say you're from New York City and you just aren't used to seeing small towns and open fields and signs that, are proud to show off the town, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And we didn't even mention the towns themselves. They were just incredible. The warmth and welcoming and hospitality that we experienced is like no other, especially if you're someone who is maybe from a big city and is sort of jaded about the kindness of others.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be proven wrong this week on RAGBRAI, because the people were just incredible and so welcoming.
Yeah.
I mean, it all started off in Orange City with, I got a ride with you in a fire truck, and then to get to Guttenberg, and we had another fire department photo. It was just so thoughtful and so kind, and we saw that all the way along the way.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, one of the reasons we do the inspection ride, in addition to meeting with the communities and the towns and kind of, helping them with questions they might have, is the actual road quality. And there were definitely some cracks and potholes that still need to be addressed. And that's the reason that we do this route. We literally have a person in a vehicle, and in my head, it looks like a Atari keyboard or something. I don't know, an old Commodore, but they push buttons when there's a center crack or a pothole or, soft shoulder. And then all of that information, Matt, sends to the DOT and the city and the county and the state, and it all gets addressed. And I would say best case scenario is it all gets fixed and you riders won't even know that it was an issue. Worst case scenario, they'll probably paint it and put a sign that says, beware of this issue in the road.
Yeah, plenty of signs. So between those two things, we'll get it taken care of so that you're aware of what's going on. And obviously you need to be paying attention to the road and what's your surroundings. But some towns like Stanley were literally working on the road as we rode into town. They call it a chip seal road, and they put the chip down, which is like little gravelly rocks, and they hadn't sealed it yet. So by the time that you get there, it'll be a beautiful brand new road for you. There was even stuff still in the works that as we were riding by. So it's a big combination. But I think Matt was talking about earlier in the week about how Iowa has some of the best rural roads in the country because they fix them for RAGBRAI. They do things to help us and make sure that we can ride safely if it's in the budget, if it's possible.
And with that said, there were plenty of miles that were beautiful. I talked to some lady that said, the road that they had was just a couple years old. So it's not all bad, but it's just going to be great by the time riders come through.
Yep, that's what we're out there to check. One of the other things we did was look at the industry along the route and make sure that there weren't any large trucking companies. And if there were, we would work with them to rearrange their schedule so they weren't trying to run trucks through RAGBRAI riders, which is, nobody wants that. So we did all sorts of that kind of things and informing the people who lived there so that they knew what to expect and give them a heads up. One of my favorite things that happens on pre-ride is people ask us, is this RAGBRAI? And I say, well, no, but it's a little taste, tiny little taste.
Yeah. So overall, I really like the route this year. The communities, like you said, were so full of energy, and it seemed like they were already pretty close to being ready for when we all come through in July.
Yeah. Yep. And as you know, listeners, we recapped each and every day with a short podcast episode. So you can find those on really whatever podcasting platform you listen to this on regularly. And then in addition to that, obviously we're talking about it now, but we will also, as RAGBRAI, post blogs about each and every day because, like I said, these towns are really engaged. They're really awesome. And they provided us with more information than we could ever share just on a podcast. So I want to make sure that you get that information straight from the horse's mouth, and I'll include a bunch of the pictures that we took along the way. So that'll be more like end of June, beginning of July by the time I have that ready, but keep an eye out so you have it all. I won't say on paper because it's a blog, but I'll have it all written out and hopefully in a way that you can absorb.
Cool. And if you listened, listeners, you also know that we had a few special guests throughout the week, and we did not do any editing.
That's right. Yeah. It's just kind of, you get what you get on this podcast. And with our really full schedule, we were usually scrambling to get it finished and get it out there so that you could listen at a reasonable time of day.
Right.
So with that being said, we did make a couple of errors and we want to clear them up because we want you to use this as a source of what to do and what to see while you're on RAGBRAI, and we don't want to get that wrong.
Yes. And I'll do the first one because it was my error and I knew it. We got done and I said, shoot, I picked the wrong town for this tip. And we just didn't have time to edit it. So I was going to say something the next day. And then we forgot that too. So, okay, so here we are now. I mentioned that the Armstrong Pool was doing a fundraiser, and that's not true. It's Sway City that's doing the fundraiser. They're the ones that have the pool from 1958. They're raising money for it, and it's an important community landmark for Sway City. So with that said, let's go back to Armstrong. And thank you, Joanne, for sending us a message. She said, we actually have a great zero-depth pool. Instead, we are fundraising to update our park equipment at the beautiful park in town. And I believe it's the same beautiful park that we visited. So
it's an awesome park.
Yeah, thank you, Joanne, for sending us that information. And I apologize that, A, we didn't get to see your beautiful pool, and that I misspoke on what they're fundraising for.
Yeah. Yes, we appreciate corrections because, like I said, we want to get it right. So thank you, Joanne.
Yeah.
Okay, so next error is one that I made on talking about the gravel segments. I had said both that we were going to and that we were not going to have support during the gravel routes. So therefore, one of those is a mistake. And unfortunately, there is not SAG support on the gravel routes. It's just too difficult to pull the sag wagon over the uneven terrain. So if you go out on gravel, make sure that you have plenty of tubes and you have plenty of water and supplies. You'll still have all the exact same town stops as the road riders for the most part. So you'll be good in that way, but just make sure that you're ready to be self-sufficient out there on the gravel route.
And most of those routes are not an excessive amount of miles.
Right.
So keep that in mind too.
Yeah.
Okay, next error was mine, and that was the town of Latimer. Just outside of town, there was a school, and then in the school yard was what we called a petting zoo. So it was literally animals that were fenced in, and we definitely did pet those animals.
I sure did, yeah.
But Gloria sent us a message and mentioned that, at the school, it's actually... those animals are there to teach the students farm to table. So the students help care for the animals, and then they're able to use the meat in their meals or sell it to further enrich the program at Cal Elementary. So that's pretty darn cool. And those animals will be out. They were thinking about expanding the space so that riders could go and check them out when we come through.
That's really cool and a really informative way. People need to learn, where food comes from and what the process is. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
It was also great to pet the animals. But
yes, exactly.
Yeah, you're right. It's not a petting zoo.
We will be right back.
At First Form, they're more than just supplements. They're built for performance, driven by purpose, and proud to fuel the RAGBRAI journey.
First Form helps real people earn real long-term results on the bike and beyond.
From clean energy to high-protein snacks that actually fuel you, they're here to keep you moving, recovering, and riding strong.
Come find the First Form team out on the route. Let's crush RAGBRAI together.
Now, back to the show.
Oh, okay, I think we have one more. Do you want to hit this one?
All right, so in Olwine, we went to one of our very favorite restaurants called Leo's, and we had said that the owner's name was Leo, but his name is actually Mike.
Right.
So Leo is the family name. Thank you to listener Jay for correcting us. And Mike is his first name. The Leos came from Terravicchia, and I'm so sorry for mispronouncing that. I'm almost certain, in Calabria, Italy, over 100 years ago.
Wow.
There were 20 plus Calabrese. Maybe I pronounced that wrong as well. I am not Italian. But there were over 20 plus of these families from that region who worked for the Chicago Great Western Railroad. And the Leos had a grocery store and restaurant for over 100 years.
Wow.
I think Mike said that it was like 1920 or something. So yeah, a long time. And Mike has one of Iowa's top Italian restaurants, and Generations Lounge has the best craft beer in town. I agree with that. It's really important for me to get this right because I have an aunt that's related by marriage who owns an Italian restaurant here in Des Moines. So I don't want to mess this up. I'm so sorry, Mike, that we called you Leo, even though your restaurant is Leo's.
Yes. And
thank you for listening, Mike.
And I need to give a shout out to Mike because, and AP, you'll have to chime in on this, but we left Leo's and we walked down to a bar called Ampersand. And somehow in that small walk, I lost my cell phone. And so I emptied out my backpack when we got to Ampersand. Everyone else is enjoying a beer and I'm panicking. I go back to Leo's and Mike and I look all over the restaurant. We look in the bathrooms. We look everywhere. I gave him my phone number. He started calling me excessively because he was hoping somebody would find the phone and answer it. And we found the phone. AP, do you want to share where we found it?
It was in my backpack.
Somehow AP put it in her backpack. And so in the end, I called and I said, Leo? And he goes, this is Mike. And I'm like, Mike, I found my phone. And he was very grateful. And so he was probably confused that I called him Leo. But now we know the answer. And if I ever call him again, I will for sure call him the right name.
Well, and we're grateful for his help. And I'm sort of sorry and sort of not sorry that I had your phone because I was keeping it safe. But just a reminder to, it's really easy when you're tired to lose track of your possessions or accidentally take someone else's possessions. So
yeah. And I have Find My Phone on my watch and it kept showing it that it's right here somewhere. And it was funny, but
yeah.
Anyway. All right.
To add on to that, I want to add something that it's not necessarily a correction, but something that I had been meaning to say over the whole week, but never quite got the chance to say. So on, I believe it's Wednesday of the ride, it's called I Ride For Day, where you ride for a cause. And so on that day, we had all worn pink jerseys that said Team Jess on them. And we never really addressed that or why we did that. So Jess is the wife of a teammate on the pre-ride, and she was unfortunately diagnosed with breast cancer. So we were wearing the jerseys to honor her and support her and show her our love for her. And I just think it's really an awesome opportunity to give awareness to causes that are important to us. Some people may not take the opportunity to do something on that day. You don't necessarily have to go as far as to wear a jersey. Maybe you just have a little sign on your bike, but it's just kind of nice. And I think that's also a great opportunity to remind women who listen to this podcast that whenever you're the age 40 or above, you really should be getting a mammogram because it's catching cancer early is the easiest way to, gives you the best odds to defeat it.
Yes.
So I just wanted to say that.
That's awesome. And we wish the best of luck to both Jess and her husband, Scott, on this journey. And hopefully it's a very successful outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yep.
Okay. So it's hard to pin down a very favorite moment from our pre-ride experience, but can you give us a few of your favorite highlights from the week, AP? And then I will too.
Yeah, you know what? It was a wonderful week. I have so many memories that were amazing.
Yeah.
But I think just overall, the volume of fire departments that came out and supported us.
Oh
and
my gosh.
let me take photos with their trucks. It was unreal.
In the trucks, driving the trucks. They escorted us. It was completely unreal.
I mean, in Bancroft, I got to use use the hose on the truck. I mean, I got to play water ball. I mean, we got to ride you'll talk about what happened in Cedar Falls, but just town after town after town, extremely generous with opening up their fire departments and showing off a little bit of their equipment, which is pretty cool.
Right. And I don't know if you've had a chance to go through all your photos, but have you counted how many fire trucks you got to be part of?
No, I think I lost count on day 2 because there were so many. But I will do a fire truck count, and obviously I'll do a little gallery. I usually do a fire truck supercut, so I will be doing that. But there are just so many.
And I think we saw red ones, white ones, yellow ones, and then also a monster truck, fire truck. Right?
Yeah, and then the boat was black, so we kind of got a little bit of everything. So it was pretty freaking awesome.
Yep.
Even in Parkersburg, in the restaurant the cafe we ate out there, they had sort of artwork that was made out of fire hoses. So it was really a theme for the week. Cool. It was just really special. I think beyond that, another highlight of the week was all the homemade pies, and I know that people always say, oh, the pie of RAGBRAI is so great, but I'm telling you, this pie was incredible.
Yeah.
Some standouts include in Primgar. I had a piece of blueberry pie that was just out of this world. It had a graham cracker crust.
Ooh.
I still think about that pie. and then in Lamont, I had an exceedingly delicious piece of cherry pie at a coffee shop called Common Grounds.
Ooh.
It was just delightful. So highly recommend those. But all of the pie we had along the route, those are just 2 examples that I wanted to share. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd be here all day if I was talking about all the awesome pie that I had.
I leaned mostly towards strawberry rhubarb because it's hard to, you can't I don't think you can buy rhubarb in a can. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's typically going to be fresh. And I was amazed at the volume of pies that were truly homemade. And I don't know if it's just because we're in smaller communities this year, but I hope that they all come through for real RAGBRAI because we've been talking about it so much. I hope that everybody actually makes it. Which brings me to, we got an email from a gal named Sheila. Hi, Sheila. Her and her son are coming to Iowa. They're driving here from, I believe, North Carolina to do their first RAGBRAI. And literally, she sent us a message that said, what's the deal with pie? Why is pie connected with RAGBRAI? And she's like, why are they so popular? Is there history or is it a cultural thing? And I wrote back to her and said, I think it's a cultural thing. I think it's just part of, it's what people want to show off when they are in a small town and they know how to make pies. I know you do know how to make a pie, AP, but I
sure do.
I don't think I've ever made a pie. So maybe it's the older generations, but do you know if there's any history beyond specifically on pie?
No, I'd have to look it up. I mean, I know there's regional desserts that people make, like a kolache from the Czech regions,
right?
Or the Dutch letters, but the pie specifically, I'm not sure. That's a great question. Maybe that'll be a future Pear Talk.
I told her pies, cookies, and scotcheroos were what she can expect when she comes to
RAGBRAI. Oh my God. Super highlight, Crystal Lake. We went to a fire department and Samantha made me scotcheroos.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. They were so good.
And gave you the leftovers.
And gave me the leftovers. I mean, give me a break. So good. One other highlight non-food related highlight that I wanted to just briefly mention was we visited a lot of really amazing libraries this year. You and I, more than I think ever we have. One standout would be in Ventura. We went to the library and they had little book sale going. So I've already started reading the book that I bought there. It's an Agatha Christie novel, but I just realized that it was large print. So when I say it's a page turner, I'm turning those pages really fast because there's 5 words per page, but it's great. It's great. So we really liked that one. And another one we really liked was in Fairbank where they had, it was just a really nice library with a cute mural in it and more. So,
and actually in Fairbank, there was a lemonade stand outside. So
I
think we maybe paid for her college education, that little girl, because we sold her out of the lemonade.
That's right. I had to have a popsicle because there's no more lemonade. So they twist my arm.
Yeah. So I guess that's a hot tip for listeners. And it used to be a secret, but when you can find the library in a small town, they welcome you in. They will let you charge your devices. They usually have air conditioning and a place to sit. So it's kind of a nice escape for just a few minutes to either cool down or just relax for a bit.
And really every library that we stopped at was expecting that people would want to come in to use their power plugs or to cool off. So don't be shy in going up to the library. If they don't want to be open, they'll lock the door. So
exactly.
Maybe it used to be a secret, but that's why you don't tell me secrets because I'll just blab. So sorry.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you a few favorite highlights. I think the biggest one was the volume of museums that were on the route. I was not overwhelmed, but every place you walked in, it had such a strong history of what was happening in that community 100 years ago, or when it first started, or a big fire that went through, or there was another museum that had, it was so, I don't know why this was so cool to me, maybe because I'm old, but they had a whole row of vacuum cleaners from years past. So I'm talking here's a vacuum cleaner that's probably older than me. Here's the one that looks like my grandma used to have, and just stuff like that. It takes you down memory lane. Plus all the different outfits, clothing, military items from veterans, and just, clothing that people used to wear. And, of course, the actual town history, too. So I was really excited that so many communities are going to open up their doors. And also a tip for you, if they have any sort of visitor log book, be sure to sign it, because a lot of times their grants are funded by how many people visit their facility. So we want to try and fill up those pages.
That's right. Yeah. Just all it takes is a minute. So we visited really cool museums in Armstrong. We visited one in Aurora. And then one that I want to visit is in Olwine. They have a waste museum. So like a garbage museum.
Yeah, that's right.
So really want to check that out. Waste Industry Museum. So that's one is on my list. So yeah, a lot of really, really cool ones, and more than even that we're mentioning right now. So
yeah, plenty more. And the other super highlight, I think we can both agree with this one, is riding the waves. Like Cedar Falls, their tagline is "Ride the Wave," and so they have created, using their river, a wave. How would we describe that, AP?
I would call it a whitewater course. I think you're meant to kayak it or do a tube, inner tube.
Yeah. So it's like a kayak or a boat or a kayak or a tubing course. And we were lucky enough that the Cedar Falls Fire Department got out their rescue boat, which is it's like a raft. And we strapped in and went down the waves. And let me tell you, they are rapid waves. I mean, it's no Colorado River, but it was definitely, we were holding on for dear life.
It was awesome. They mic'd me up for a video allegedly, but I think all they got was screaming.
I think that's all I got when I videoed you.
Joyful screaming. But yeah, it was super fun. Thank you for TJ on the rescue team for piloting the boat and giving us a real fun memory.
It was so fun.
We won't soon forget. Yeah.
And we were limited on time. I think if we had more time, we'd probably have gone way further down the river, but it was a blast. So yeah, super appreciative.
Yeah.
And then I think we can both agree, besides riding the wave, our very, very favorite part of pre-ride. Should we say it together? Let me see if we say it. Hopefully we say it together.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The people.
The people.
Oh, I said it first.
Well, we did better on saying the word together than we did on counting. But yeah. It's just so fun to meet people from all across the state. Many, many, many of them are volunteers and completely offering their time for free to come and help put on RAGBRAI for their town, show off their town and show us around and make us food. And gosh, it was just so incredible to meet people all across the state.
Yeah. Okay, so you're still going to keep seeing us recapping the pre-ride inspection as we go further. AP will be doing blogs and social media, and so keep your eye on that. And of course, email us if you have specific questions. But I'm sure you want to know what's next on the podcast. And I think we're both pretty stoked with the volume of really good information coming in the pipeline. We saw a lot of good coffee shops on the route.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a highlight podcast for sure.
Yeah. Yep. And, I heard that maybe one of our very favorite breakfast vendors might be featured soon.
Yeah, for sure. So keep your eye out, or your ear out. Keep your ear out for that one.
Yep.
Plus, we have started scheduling interviews with committee members. So just like in the last several years, we will have an overnight town episode. I won't be doing those interviews till we get closer to RAGBRAI so that they can have the most up-to-date plans possible. They'll share with us, and that episode will go out just before RAGBRAI, so you can listen on your way to Orange City.
Man, that'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So.
And we're also we were just working on it before we push record, but on an episode that involves some of our new Minnesota friends. So keep your ear out for that one too. Yeah,
that was super special, and we didn't even really crack the ice on that experience. So
right.
We'll let them tell the tale when they're on that podcast. So, all right. Well, I have to get back to work. There's just so much to get caught up on, so much to do before we head back to Orange City because the clock's ticking.
That's right. Well, until then, be sure to subscribe to this podcast, keep training for our big bike ride, and
Just go bike!
Well, listeners, that is it for today. We want to thank you for tuning in to listen to the Just Go Bike podcast. If you would like to contact Murph and AP with a comment about the podcast, or maybe even you have a topic in mind, you can reach us at justgobikepodcast@gmail.com. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook and watch our intros on YouTube. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, especially if you're a fan. That is going to do it for this week. Until next time,
Just go bike!
theme song by Ryan Steer, logo by Suzanne Milosevic, produced by Kathy Murphy, social media by Andrea Parrott, intro by Pumpkin. Until next time, just go bike.